Geoff Heeren is an associate professor of law here at Valpo, where he teaches constitutional law. But he also serves as the director of the university's immigration clinic, where third-year law students provide free legal assistance to those dealing with issues related to immigration and immigration law. He's already had a very busy day and undoubtedly a busy weekend with this work as well. He received his JD from New York University, holds an LLM from Georgetown University Law Center. He's published numerous articles on topics ranging from immigration detention to the legal rights of immigrants in the United States to fair housing law. He also holds memberships in, here's another acronym, AILA, the American Immigration Lawyers Association, the Chicago Immigration Court Working Group, and the National Immigration Project of the National Lawyers Guild. So, Geoff, we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda, and thanks for the wake up. This way I won't fall asleep during my own presentation too, which would be more awkward than one of you falling asleep. And thanks to Elizabeth and to the Center for setting this up. It's wonderful to be here today to hear the amazing work that my co-panelists are doing. Just to even be in this space, which is incredibly beautiful and makes these periodic snow squalls seem sort of terrifying April aberrations like something really beautiful, and to really set the scene nicely. So my clinic, as Linda mentioned, represents immigrants who are in immigration cases, and in particular in probably the scariest type of immigration cases, deportation cases, as Pam also talked about. By way of background, I founded the immigration clinic in 2012 after I worked for about a decade as a legal aid lawyer representing persons who couldn't afford a lawyer for civil cases, primarily immigration cases. And then I spent a couple of years teaching at Georgetown in their asylum clinic, where my students there also represented asylum seekers. So I and my students have over the years represented immigrants who are victims of domestic violence, victims of torture, abused, abandoned, and neglected immigrant children, people who've been through really, really terrible experiences. And I have personally heard, and my students have heard, clients tell some of the most horrible stories that you can imagine. Stories of torture, of abuse, and it's necessary for us to listen to these stories in painstaking detail because we have to establish that our client is credible in court. And so it's necessary for us to hear clients talk about things that the natural human impulse is to shy away from and to not listen to. Now, listening to people talk about those stories does leave an indelible mark, and it's impossible to listen to them without having some measure of trauma transferred to us as well. Now, I've led a fairly comfortable life. I've never experienced these things, but still, it's a hard experience to listen to these things and to listen to them year after year. At the same time, though, it's an equally amazing experience to be a part of clients' lives as they build a new life after having been through these experiences. So that's the flip side of the equation, is that it's incredibly rewarding to do this work. So here I guess I should say a word or two about what the work means to me, since that's kind of the topic of our panel. A friend and a legal aid lawyer once said to me that he didn't think any of us would be doing these jobs, which, for those of you who don't know, legal aid is not a high-paying type of career choice for a lawyer. And the hours are very long, and sometimes the clients are difficult, and he said that we wouldn't probably be doing these types of cases if we didn't somehow have the stamp of Sunday school on us. And that was true for me, too. I grew up with going to church because I had a fierce Lutheran mother who made sure I was there, who started me on coffee at a shockingly young age to make sure that I stayed awake in church, because you're not always allowed to just stand up and refresh yourself as we did before my little talk right here. And that did affect me throughout life. But at the time that I started this work in my mid-20s, my attitude towards religious faith was primarily questioning. Now over the years, the 16 or so years I've been doing this, my views have changed because the work has made it change. Linda spoke about the resilience of these clients and what we learned from them, and that's been my experience, is that working with people who have been through things that I've often thought would crush me, and seeing how they not only survive it, but go on and thrive has been something that has given me a renewed faith in the power of the human spirit and the ability of people to help each other and the transformative nature of that ability, and in a higher power that touches all things that, for lack of a better term, I would call grace. Now, in my job now, I have a chance to share this experience with my students, which is a wonderful thing, to help them actualize this experience of working with clients and to have that same type of profound experience that that has changed my life. And I'm very proud of the work that they have done. They have won asylum for torture victims. They've attained immigration benefits for immigrant children who've been through experiences that no child should have to go through. And they've worked with immigrant victims of domestic abuse to help them turn their lives around and have a new beginning. Just one example of one of our cases, a couple weeks ago, we won a case that had been in the immigration courts for 7 years. Our client had been facing deportation for 7 years. This is a man who came here as a child from the Ukraine, struggled as many immigrants do, and had some minor shoplifting cases. And because of those shoplifting cases, he was in immigration proceedings facing deportation, with the shadow of deportation hanging over him for 7 years of his life. He took his case all the way up to the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, which is one step below the Supreme Court. One of my students argued his case there, won it. The case was sent back, and then a couple of weeks ago, two of my students went to his immigration court trial, appeared in front of an immigration judge, put on a direct examination of the client, put on a direct of another witness, and we won the case. And now he's finally able to go forward with his life without this shadow hanging over his head. Now in the next weeks, we're going to have a big month. We're going to have 3 different immigration court trials coming up. I was a little late today because I was in the office working with one of my students on a document submission that's due Monday. So we have a lot of hope that we're going to be able to succeed in these cases. So wish us luck. Thank you very much.
Wow, I think the applause is both for your remarks and what you've shared, but also for what you're achieving on behalf of our immigrant neighbors. And a great example of both inspiring and instructing students on a professional path, but also putting them to work in life-changing ways. So thank you very much.